There was a time when the dinner table wasn't just a place to eat, it was a place to gather, a place where stories were told, prayers were whispered, and side dishes stole the show. Not the kind from fancy restaurants or glossy blogs. No, these were dishes born from love, thrift, and that little bit of Southern magic mamas seemed to carry in their aprons. Do you remember the smell of cornbread dressing wafting through the kitchen just as the screen door slammed shut behind the kids? Or the way deviled eggs disappeared before the main course ever hit the table? Back then, the sides weren't just extras. They were part of the ritual, a reflection of care, community, and comfort. But somewhere along the way, we traded scratch for store-bought. We lost the Jell-O molds, the bacon grease cans, the dishes that said home in the quietest, most reliable ways. So let's pull back the yellowed recipe cards, dust off the Pyrex, and remember the 25 forgotten side dishes your Southern mama used to make, because maybe it's time they came back home. 1. Tomato aspic with celery and olives. You knew it was a church luncheon when the tomato aspic made an appearance. Bright red, jiggly, and molded into a perfect ring, it looked more like art than food. But your mama didn't make it for the flavor. She made it for the pride. It was savory Jell-O, made with tomato juice, lemon, and a whisper of Worcestershire. Suspended in the wobble were crisp slices of celery and the occasional green olive, like little surprises waiting to be found. She'd serve it chilled on a leaf of iceberg lettuce, maybe with a dollop of mayonnaise in the center, and you'd eat it because you had to. But now you remember it with a smile. Not because it was delicious, but because it meant someone had tried to make the table feel special, tried to turn a can of tomato juice into a centerpiece. It wasn't about taste, it was about memory. 2. Buttered rutabagas. If there was one smell that told you it was Sunday, it was rutabagas simmering on the back burner. Earthy, sweet, a little bitter. They weren't everyone's favorite, but they were always there. Your mama would peel and cube them, then boil them down until they were soft enough to mash with a fork. A generous hunk of butter, some salt, and a good pinch of black pepper, and that was it. Served in a chipped ceramic bowl with steam still rising, they looked humble, but they tasted like something older than time. The kind of food that got your grandparents through the Depression. The kind of food that didn't need a recipe. It just needed patience and butter. 3. Copper pennies, marinated carrots. No potluck was complete without a glass dish of copper pennies. Thin sliced carrots boiled until just tender, then soaked in a tangy sweet marinade of vinegar, sugar, and tomato soup. Sounds strange, but somehow it worked. The carrots gleamed like polished coins, and the flavor danced somewhere between salad and side dish. They were make-ahead magic. Your mama would pull them from the fridge, cold and glossy, and let them sit on the counter while the main course warmed. And even if the kids turned up their noses, someone always took seconds. It wasn't about the carrots. It was about remembering how to stretch a vegetable into something that felt like more. 4. English pea salad. Bright green peas, chopped boiled eggs, cubes of cheddar, and just enough mayonnaise to hold it all together. Pea salad wasn't flashy, but it was dependable. It showed up in Tupperware at family reunions, in cold Pyrex at Sunday brunch, and in every spiral-bound community cookbook from here to Mississippi. Your mama made it the night before, let it chill, and served it with a heavy spoon. And you always knew it would be cold, creamy, and just a little bit salty. It didn't need fancy herbs or gourmet upgrades. It just needed to be there. 5. Congealed salad with pineapple and cream cheese lime Jell-O. Crushed pineapple, cream cheese, maybe a handful of mini marshmallows if she was feeling fancy. It was a sweet side dish, but it never tried to be dessert. It lived somewhere in between. This was the kind of dish that sat proudly next to the ham at Easter or the turkey at Thanksgiving. It shimmered under the kitchen light and jiggled on the plate. And when you took a bite, it was cold, creamy, and confusing in the best possible way. Your mama called it salad. You called it strange. But now you call it a memory worth keeping. 6. Stewed okra and tomatoes. There was a skillet for frying okra and a pot for stewing it. This version was a slow, tender kind. Sliced okra simmered with canned tomatoes, onions, and just enough bacon grease to keep it southern. The okra went soft, the tomatoes broke down, and the smell filled the kitchen like a warm quilt. Some folks didn't like the texture, but your mama didn't care. She made it because her mama made it, because it reminded her of hot kitchens and barefoot summers. And when she spooned it over rice or cornbread, it tasted like love that didn't ask for anything fancy. 7. Scalloped cabbage. It looked plain, but it packed a punch. Chopped cabbage, boiled until just soft, layered in a buttered dish with cream, breadcrumbs, and shredded cheese. Baked until golden, it was bubbling and browned at the edges, the kind of side dish that didn't make a fuss but got scraped clean anyway. Your mama made it on nights when money was tight, when there wasn't much in the fridge, but there was always cabbage. And somehow that plain old head of cabbage turned into something warm, comforting, and just a little special. 8. Baked macaroni and tomatoes. Forget the boxed kind. This was elbow macaroni baked in stewed tomatoes with a little butter and a lot of black pepper. Maybe a sprinkle of sugar if the tomatoes were too tart. It was tangy, starchy, and simple. The noodles got soft, the edges crisped up in the oven, and every bite reminded you that comfort didn't need to be complicated. It needed a casserole dish, a hot oven, and a mama who knew how to stretch a pantry. 9. Sweet onion pie. Thin slices of Vidalia onions, baked in a flaky crust with eggs, cream, and a dusting of cheese. It was like Keisha's country cousin, humble, sweet, and just rich enough to make you come back for seconds. Your mama served it at brunches, showers, or sometimes as the only thing on the table when times were lean. You never realized onions could taste like that, but she did, because Southern mamas knew how to make simple things shine. 10. Creamed corn casserole. 2 cans of corn, one of them creamed, some sour cream, a box of cornbread mix, and a whole lot of love. Stirred together and baked until golden on top, it came out of the oven smelling like everything good about a Southern kitchen. The crust cracked under your fork, the inside stayed soft and sweet, and it always disappeared faster than anything else on the table. It wasn't just a side dish, it was a reason to say grace. 11. Lima beans with ham hock, big butter beans simmered slow with a salty ham hock, onions, and just a touch of sugar. They cooked all afternoon, filling the house with a smell you couldn't escape and wouldn't want to. Served with cornbread, they were creamy and rich, tasting like they came from a time when people knew how to wait for good things. Your mama didn't rush the beans, and you didn't rush eating them. 12. Deviled eggs with pickle juice. Every Southern mama had her own version, some sweet, some tangy, some with paprika on top like a little hat. Your mama used pickle juice. It gave them a bite, a brightness that made them stand out on the tray. They were the first to go at every gathering, balanced on paper plates, carried out by cousins, and gone before the ham was even sliced. They were tiny, perfect, and made with hands that remembered. These weren't gourmet. They weren't fancy, but they were made with care, the kind of care you can taste, the kind that sticks to your ribs and your memory. Somewhere between microwave dinners and takeout apps, we lost these dishes. Maybe we thought we outgrew them. Maybe we just got too busy. But food like this doesn't go bad. It just waits to be remembered. So go ahead, make the pea salad, jiggle the Jell-O, pull out the Pyrex and call your mom if you can, because some side dishes weren't just about food. They were about showing up, about stretching a little into a lot, about feeding people not just with calories, but with kindness. And maybe, just maybe, it's time they made a comeback. Drop your favorite forgotten side dish in the comments. Share the ones that bring you home. Because these recipes, they're not lost. They're just waiting for someone to make them again.